What up, y'all? It's your boy Cirilo, man, and me and CJ. We back with another little quick announcement. And you're now tuning in to Black People Be Knowing right here on Black with No Chaser. If you're just tuning in, thank you so much as usual. But we'll get right into it. So recently, you probably just popped on your timeline, whether you got Apple or whatever you use for news. Washington Post just came out to the DOJ under the direction of AG Merrick Garland, and I'm reading this verbatim, right? The Attorney General Merrick Garland on Friday instructed federal prosecutors to end charging and sentencing disparities in cases involving the distribution of crack and powder cocaine, right? We know for decades with the war on drugs and the disparities in sentencing and how it's harmed Black communities in particular, and also Black and Brown communities. And so, this is obviously huge. One thing to point out, though, that back in September of 2021, the House almost like overwhelming majority of the House actually passed this and sent over to the Senate. The Senate actually did not even vote on it. They're like, the hell with it. We're not even worried about it. And so that right now is still sitting on the Senate's desk. So Merrick Garland said, the hell with it. I'm going to find a way to instruct my federal prosecutors to do what they need to do to make sure that that they actually fix or begin to actually fix decades of of this massive gap in sentencing and how it has crippled Black communities, right? And so, me and CJ here, we were looking at this report from the Vera Institute. And by the way, just so y'all know, just for like reference, the bill that was passed by the House, which was 361 votes in the for yes and 66 for no, it was called the Equal Act. So if you want to research the Equal Act and kind of figure out what it's all about, but essentially it was to eliminate the sentencing disparity between crack and powder cocaine, and which is an unjust disparity that has disproportionately ripped apart Black families and devastated Black communities. I think that make no mistake about it, I think anybody watching this who's familiar with the actual crack cocaine, the epidemic, and how it's like literally destroyed Black communities, we know where we're at with that. We know what the war on drugs have done. We understand that what the crime bill has done to Black communities. But we also understand that there's been a shift and actual a decline to some degree in jail and incarceration rates in this country. So even that being said, right, according to the Vera Institute, in spring of 2021, 1.8 million people were incarcerated in the United States. 1.8 million, right?
That's crazy, bro.
People are
That's
sent to jail
in the state of Mississippi.
more than, bro. That's this almost the population of Mississippi is
Yeah,
incarcerated in the United States right now, right?
that's crazy.
And in terms of just like jail, like so being jailed and then remaining in jail is two different things, right? But people are sent to jails in this country, jails and prisons, more than 11 million times each year. And as we were looking through the data by the Vera Institute, there was one county that like really stuck out to me, which is Brooks County in Texas, where over 400,000 people were jailed. Now I don't know, and to note, the 95% of the population in Brooks County, is white. And so it's not like this being targeted. I think that what we have here is maybe a detention center or a holding place where people go. Brooks County, by the way, is actually geographically south as almost you can go in Texas, right on the Mexican border.
Yeah.
And so that could
So
be maybe part of
I was gonna. That's a
the
yeah.
detainees. You know what I'm saying? And so, but really, we're just gonna kind of talk to y'all. I wanted to make the announcement. Obviously, this is a landmark type of direction by the Biden administration and AG Merrick Garland. So, we'll kind of see where it goes from here. Obviously,
Yeah.
it'll be great if the Senate got up off their ass and just,
Yeah.
voted on the Equal Act and did what they
Right.
needed to do. And we got the AG or the Biden administration wouldn't have to do any type of executive orders or direction because essentially it's still not the law of the land. The AG can
Right.
direct, right? He can inform and say, hey, federal prosecutors, I need you all to begin to treat crack cocaine convictions similarly as you would to powder cocaine. But
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
necessarily
Yeah.
have to, right? It's not
Well,
it's
I
not
mean,
law. You know what I
them
mean?
having them having the option. Well, this is what I'll say is clearly the disparity between powder cocaine and rock cocaine is one that has been discussed for a long time. The idea of mandatory minimums following, mandatory minimum sentencing for rock cocaine, uh, that had persisted all throughout the late '90s and the 2000s, and even now, in 2022, has really ruined a lot of lives, a lot of families, and jailed mostly uh, black men and women, uh, to a disproportionate degree, uh, on the so-called war on drugs that you mentioned previously. And so, in taking into consideration what's happening right now with this, it is uh, monumental for them to speak out and acknowledge this disparity, because
Mm-hmm.
we've known for a long time, we being our community, black communities, have known and spoken out on the fact that this disparity has existed. And as we've seen the trend in treating both drugs and those who either use or possess uh, drugs differently than in the past, because a lot of times you're talking about, uh, in the a victimless crime, in the sense that, um, it's not a crime of violence, it's not a crime of these things. uh, when you take those things into consideration, you're really uh, looking at the fact that they're just asking that at the very least you start to treat this the same way you treat the opioid epidemic. Treat this the same way that you treat um, some of these other drugs. Even methamphetamine gets a different treatment in the way that crack cocaine has been treated uh, historically. And historically, it's been something that has been, in the minds of government officials, something that they've related to our community. And so, in that regard, I'm glad to see them moving policy in a direction that is, you know, intent on uh, alleviating some of the burden that has existed. Now, I have no idea how prominent crack still is in the community. I don't. I mean, I think a lot of things have surpassed it, but I will say that it's better late than never with regard to addressing this issue for sure.
Yeah, bro. Absolutely. I think it's better late than never. Obviously, you can't change the past,
Yeah.
but then we can begin to make substantial steps in the right direction. I mean, like again, I think that Republicans in the Senate are stonewalling and blockading once again. Um, I think a landmark piece of legislation that can be
Yes.
signed into law like immediately, right? It's something
Yeah.
that the Biden administration has been advocating for. It's something that Merrick Garland has been advocating for even before becoming AG. He actually sat down with, he actually sat on a judiciary committee in terms of a hearing and giving testimony.
Yeah.
And when being questioned by Senator Booker, I think it's in 2021, he emphatically, right, and immediately when asked by Senator Booker out of New Jersey, hey, do you want to get rid of this? He was like, yes, yes. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like immediately, like, you know what I mean? And so
Right.
and that's the crazy part about it, right? Is that it's taken over a year for even through all this, right? It went through a house, overwhelming majority of the house actually voted on it. This could have been something that really would have affected, like obviously, no doubt, affected positively the black and brown communities being affected by this law, in particular, and for sure, black communities. But it still would have helped white communities as well. I
Yeah.
mean, we know that we know that white communities, commit equal amounts of crime at the same rate. It's just that the incarceration rate doesn't reflect it. And I really do want to point this out, though, bro, because I think that like even as population, prison population kind of tend to decline, the numbers, right, in terms of the representation or the amount of black people still being incarcerated, so it far surpasses any demographic in this country, right?
Yeah.
So when
For sure.
we look at Louisiana right now, which is crazy. Louisiana, which is the same state that
Right.
decided and voted no to remove slavery from the Constitution, is the is I think number one or number two in the entire country in terms of jail populations, right? So even though they actually declined,
It's
which
also
is
the
sad,
second
right?
blackest country in the country, second
Yeah,
blackest state in
second
the
like
country.
so like when you look at it, right? You got Kentucky that's up there, Oklahoma's up there, Louisiana though, right? Check out Louisiana though. At one point, right? Louisiana's population in comparison to the U.S. prison population is almost double in comparison. So for every hundred, because the way the actually chart goes or the graphic or numbers flow is that for every 100,000, right? It's like it's like it's like I'm trying to like so for every 100,000
You can
people
share it.
incarcerated,
You want to?
I'm not on my. So he
Oh, okay,
says
okay.
number of people incarcerated per 100,000 residents ages 15 to 64, right? So on the graph, y'all can see it. It would be like a red line being for the actual particular state, and then it would be a black line for the or a gray line for the U.S. population or U.S. total. And literally, Louisiana is damn near two times more than the U.S. total.
That's crazy, man. I mean, and it's this disparity is throughout the southeast where the majority of black folks are. Um, so understand Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, the incarceration rates are through the roof through all of these places because they're densely populated states uh, with us, and we are over criminalized as far as the way that the criminal justice system, if you want to call it that, functions uh, currently. Like we're going to be over criminalized to the extent that sometimes when we go into courtrooms throughout this state or throughout this country, we go into courtrooms where it may be a city that is 85% white, but the courtroom is 80%, 90% black as far as the people who've been pulled over for things as simple as traffic stops and other things that are severe as felonies. And so the way that the system has functioned historically uh, perpetuates this type of disparity. And so I think we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to highlight that before we got into what we've been talking about today, which is the Tory Lanez trial coverage and the assault of Megan Thee Stallion. Uh, Currently, according to Megan Cunniff's timeline, uh, Megan is a reporter who's been reporting on it live. The reason that we have not been able to witness it for ourselves is because it's not being live streamed anywhere. So they're allowing reporters to report on it in real time, but they have to do so through typing. So we've been following Megan Cuniff, who is a reporter's timeline, to stay up to date, and that's what we're providing legal analysis by looking at what she's sharing, and what she shared about an hour to an hour and a half ago is that they're about to look at the 80-minute video. So they may be looking at it right now.
Oh,
The 80
bro,
minute video. Uh-huh.
I want to share this with you, dog. So like
Sure.
this is a video I'm gonna share with you, but this is a video from the actual day, right? So
Okay.
when LAPD stopped them, right, in the SUV,
Yeah.
there's a video of like basically Kelsey walking with I think it's Kelsey being surrounded by LAPD. Um and so I'm gonna share this with you because I think
Yeah.
that this will kind of bring some context to essentially her lying her ass off,
Yeah.
right? Like literally. So give me 1 second. I'm about to actually drop this to you.
Okay.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
because I think
So
if folks, this is the beginning, y'all. By the way, the video y'all about to see is actually at the very beginning
so
of.
so to give you some framing, y'all, this girl said that uh and by this girl I mean Kelsey, has said that uh she didn't see Megan uh she didn't she didn't see Megan limping is what she said. And so what I'm about to do is share my screen with y'all. Hold on. Trying to share it. That'd be a problem. Hold on. All right. Y'all. Hold on. Is it visible yet?
Not chat fool.
Damn. Hold on. What the hell? Share screen. Oh, let me see. Stream. I might have like some.
Y'all bear with this.
Yeah. Niggas
And
trying
while
to
and
get.
while we here updating
All
y'all in
right.
real time, you know what I
Let
mean?
me know if you
You
can see
got
this
it?
now. You see this?
Yeah, we can see it.
All
Hmm.
right. I'm gonna enlarge it. So I'm gonna pause it right there. Okay, so the person that you see in the video right here with their hands up, and you can see blood being tracked from their feet. That's Megan there. Um, and you can see her with a visible limp, and you can see her bleeding from her feet with the hands up. The reason that the video is blurred out, she has on clothes, but I think she has on a thong bikini because they were at a pool gathering. I won't call it a party because uh they didn't characterize it as a party, but it was a get together at Kylie Jenner's house. So uh
Man,
oh
just watching this, bro, is crazy to like just watch. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like
right. Like I mean, this is Kelsey getting out of the vehicle. Now y'all just saw Megan for at least 1 minute walking backwards with a helicopter yelling to her with her hands up to get out of the vehicle. She's visibly limping, visibly bleeding, visibly in a state of, I'm sure she was in a state of fear, both from having been shot, but also now having the Los Angeles Police Department yelling, "Step away with your hands up," treating her as though she's not the victim, the shooting victim in this instance. Like literally in this moment right now, she may be thinking they may shoot me. I'm naked almost, and they're still treating me uh as though I'm a criminal. That's Kelsey with her hands up. Kelsey yesterday testified that she didn't see Megan limping. How the fuck would she have not seen Megan limping when we all just watched her for a minute while Kelsey was in the car as Megan was limping? I'm pretty sure she looked over and saw Megan, who was in the car with her, get out of the car with their hands up and paid attention to what she was doing. So I'm gonna play it again. All right, so y'all just watched the video. I guess this is Tory Lanez to the left of Kelsey. Uh, laying to the left of Kelsey, and obviously that's Megan on the right. So I'm gonna stop sharing my video right now, and I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Watching that, pissed me the fuck off even more. Like from a number of levels. Like for one, it's frustrating to see, uh, obviously because we are watching Megan, who is a shooting victim, uh, basically be talked to by the police who don't, they don't know what kind of situation they're driving into. But it's
Yep.
clear that Megan is hurt. It's clear that she's naked or virtually naked, has no place to hide a weapon or anything like. So I'm definitely frustrated by her treatment, but beyond being frustrated by that, I'm frustrated by how people have treated Megan uh since this shit has happened. Like a lot of people uh treat her as though she's not an actual victim of a shooting. And I think they reduce it or minimize it because she was shot in her feet, as though firing a weapon at someone 5 times isn't uh
Ain't
just outrageous.
traumatizing,
Right. It's
bro.
outrageous fucking behavior. And
Bro, let me tell
so
you something. I was, I'm gonna tell you this though, dog. Like, as somebody that I don't know if everybody heard about this, but there was especially in the DMV. But I was on a train where the shooting happened, right? And nobody was shot on the train. It was actually the brother. There was a off-duty FBI agent that shot another person, but the other person didn't know the other person was an FBI agent. But as we
oh,
pulling up, the point I'm trying to make is that, like, whether you shot or not, I wasn't shot and I was traumatized, right? And just imagine having to relive this as Megan, right? You've already been shot. You've been hypersexualized to actually, like, to show that, hey, you're not worthy of of vindication in terms of seeing justice, right? And so, like, you watching all this, and then, like, I'm reading the reports, and then, like, I was, like, reading some of the testimony people were tweeting out when she was on the stand, and, like, basically saying that she didn't want to be here anymore. And as we also looking at, um, you know, the amount of trauma and that black communities are facing in terms of mental health. And then, like, she gets up on the stand and basically testifies that I wish that he would have killed me instead of just shot me in my feet.
that
And
is
that's
yeah.
rough, bro. That's heavy. That's heavy.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
super
mean?
heavy,
It
bro.
knowing that, cause she never knew that, cause she didn't. She said, had I known that I was gonna be put through all this hell, I would have rather been dead right now than testify in front of y'all.
Yeah,
And to
it's
have
yeah.
embarrassed myself, basically to be over sexualized, all my business in the street. My her partner is embarrassed, and it's like, it's tough. You know what I mean? Cause, like, and then some people was like, oh, somebody heard somebody say, well, you rap about this stuff, so that means that, like, that's just what it is, almost like kind of some kind of
I think that's the
justification.
most fucked up. That's the most fucked up mentality. And like, bro, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. It pisses me off a great deal to see uh, people dismiss uh the trauma that she experienced. Um, from the standpoint of literally, there is no reason that she should have experienced it. There is no explicable reason that whether it was, and it's my belief that it was Tory, um, that Tory should have shot at her 5 times. There's no justifiable reason, and there's no way to make sense of, if you are a reasonable person whatsoever. There's no way to rationalize a reason that a person should ever, uh, that a person should ever basically treat someone else that way or fire a weapon. Like, you can't jokingly fire a weapon at someone. Why? Because if you fire a deadly weapon at someone, then the person that you fire the weapon at could die. What people don't understand or seem to understand is that whether Tory is charged with assault, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, or whatever, if those bullets bounced off the ground and hit Megan instead of in her feet, in her arteries, then he'd be on trial for murder today and not on
Or
trial.
attempted murder or
Well, I mean,
whatever it is, right?
technically he is. I mean, like this, I mean, this is attempted
I
murder.
don't.
You know what I mean? Like, they may
I'm about
not
to
have
say. I'm
called
about
it
to say.
that.
I don't know. I'm about to say, like, I'm honestly. That's what I was wondering too, though, bro. Like, I was like, this is the ag assault case. Like I thought this would have been like if you point your gun at me, whether or not you said I was shooting at your feet, I was shooting at the ground, a bullet ricocheted.
Well,
The intent was to actually shoot at me with a deadly weapon. To me,
so
that
yeah, I mean, well,
and
the
maybe
thing is different states have different laws when it comes to like gun violence type of situations.
yeah.
For example, Mississippi, which is where I'm licensed, does not have an attempted murder. Like they don't have attempted murder. Aggravated assault is, in
Is the
essence,
charge.
attempted murder. It's
Yeah,
assault.
yeah.
Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon is the equivalent of attempted murder in some other states. And the reason that they don't have it in a lot of times is because attempted murder requires the you know the element of attempt, which is an intentional crime, and that rises to a level that of proof that stretches the level that has to be proven. Right, attempt requires is essentially a specific intent, and
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
uh, in this particular instance, if Tory had killed Megan with the 5 shots that he shot at her, if Tory had killed Megan with those shots, he would have been charged with what we call depraved heart murder. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason he would have been charged with that is because it doesn't necessarily require malice. You don't have to intentionally be shooting at anybody in particular. All it warrants is that your reckless disregard
For
for
human
human
life.
life
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, resulted in someone receiving serious bodily injury, or
Or
it
death.
resulted in someone dying. And that
Yeah.
is what we're talking about here. Is that's what happened to her. And yet you got people that are dismissing it, people that are rooting for people to get out on technicalities, uh, people who are mocking her pain. And for me, like that's frustrating to see because it it highlights this insulation and world of celebrity that people tend to be seeming to live in. Like Megan, what the fuck could Megan have ever rapped that made you so upset as a man that you say, oh well, you rap about it. So like that ain't. I mean, like that's just not the mentality that we have, and nor should we have, because we ain't saying that about other rappers who have like we're not celebrating when they lose their life. Nor should we. I don't believe. Like we're not happy that they're gone. We when it's male rappers that are attacked or lose their lives, like we saying RIP, and we feeling bad, and we commenting underneath their posts in support and showing love. And I think that's where you know the disdain that exists by many for black women is being perpetuated and is visible, and it's frustrating to see, because it is hella toxic. It's hella toxic to uh, imagine that there are people who can see a gun, a woman shot, video of the woman bleeding after being shot, and say, "Oh, you weren't even shot. Like it's
Bro,
bullet fragments in her foot. You weren't even
that's
shot.
the
She lied about being.
that's the
That's
crazy
what
part.
that's what academics said, and like people were jumping on. Oh, she was lying. I knew she was lying. Like, and it's people like him that's
Bro, that's so
perpetuation
weak,
like that.
dog. That's weak, bro.
Yeah,
Honestly, dog. It's weak to try and justify. Honestly, though,
yeah,
regardless of what Megan does in her, her personal life, to be honest,
yeah.
it didn't rise to the level of get your ass shot. I
Right,
mean, regardless, bro. Like, I think that like we spending way too much time
right.
like on the personal life, and that's one thing we didn't get into, and I really didn't want to get into it, to be honest, and I
Yeah,
still don't because
I yeah,
we've talked enough about this, and I think that the courtroom has embarrassed enough about this. I think social media has embarrassed her enough about this, and this is, um, I would just say her personal business. I don't even want to mention it because I feel like, in a way, similar to how they try to assassinate your character in terms
Oh,
of black people in
hold
this
on, hold on,
country.
hold on. Let me Jaja Davis says we need to stop passing the narrative that Meg was shot. She was not shot. A gun went off and she was hit by stray fragments. No one has testified she was actually. First of all, Jaja, Megan, like first of all, I'm looking at your picture, and your picture, when juxtaposed to the comment that you just made, is perplexing me.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm
like
thinking you would be
your
for
picture
Megan.
of the picture of you with a silencing of black women with America, like America silences black women, is what I interpret from that picture right there. And so to say we need to stop passing the narrative Meg was shot. No, Meg was shot. If a bullet hits you, then you were shot.
Period.
Then if a bullet, if a projectile comes out of a gun, if five projectiles come out of a gun, and the metal from that gun, whether it bounces off the ground and then hits you or not, then you were shot. And those projectile fragments have the ability to sever arteries, to to take your life. And so it's very important that we don't say that Meg was not shot. She absolutely was shot. She said
Wait,
she was shot. The doctors testified that they removed bullet fragments from her feet. Like if a bullet is inside you, then how is it?
you shot.
Yeah, like if a pieces of a bullet are in you, then you were shot.
Listen, I
And
don't know. I don't know if it's because, and so this is why we gotta, I think, clear the air on Tory Lanez's intent, right?
yeah,
And like why we're talking about this, because I think there's some confusion, and I'll be fair. I'm gonna be fair, right? Because I think that when people think about somebody getting shot, they
yeah,
think about me pointing the gun at somebody or somebody pointing the gun at someone
yeah,
and then discharging that gun and the other person being hit in that manner, right?
yeah,
And so the confusion here is that, well, just because you shot at the ground and you were like saying, "Oh, you thought you was on a cartoon talking about dance," you know what? Then, and this is according to, by the way, Kelsey's statement, and what she heard that day, and then so the just because you shot at the ground, and then that's what. Let me tell you something right now. You discharge a gun, and somebody gets hurt, and bullet fragments, a bullet, or anything happens to that person, then that is in fact aggravated assault. And depending on the jurisdiction, see that just said that. They don't care. Like, and what he also explained was depraved heart. It doesn't
Real, I
matter
got some
what you
good
were.
shit for you. I got some good shit for you. Uh, James Quelly, who is the LA Times reporter, he's been pretty good too. He wasn't accurate on some things, but he is in the courtroom, and he just tweeted out what the tape is showing. Do you want to go through that? You
Yeah.
want to
Oh,
talk
oh
about
yeah.
that?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. 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 Definitely.
Should I
Definitely.
share the
Yeah.
screen again?
Uh.
Or
Are we going over the? Yeah. Yeah. Share the screen because I think that's
all
good.
right,
As kind of people to follow along and just see the tweets itself.
okay. So I'm gonna share the screen with y'all again. Share screen. Let's go to this tab. All right. Okay, y'all. Can you see screen?
Yep.
Okay, so James Quealy of the LA Times is he covers courts for the Los Angeles Times. Uh this is what he says is covered in most of Kelsey Harris's tape that has been played. He says she says in the tape Tory Lanez shot Megan Thee Stallion. She says Tory physically assaulted her by pulling and dragging on her hair. She says there was a conversation with Lanez about money, but never explicitly a bribe offer. Um, he says there's probably 15 to 20 minutes left to play in the afternoon session. Also of note, Kelsey seems to paint the argument in the car between Lanez and Megan as much more about their careers than about who slept with who, which has come up a lot in the trial. On the tape, Kelsey also vented her frustrations that Megan didn't protect her. And we're going to come back to this part right here because this is important. Her in her initial press statements and left her thrown to the wolves regarding rumors that she was the person who shot Megan. Uh, James Quelly. But the main point is the tape is Kelsey being very clear and direct on what she saw that night and who shot who, as opposed to her litany of I don't remembers on the stand this week. I'm going to have a longer piece on her testimony tomorrow. All right. So, Cirilo, after hearing that, what does that do for you?
I mean, if I'm a juror, right,
Uh-huh.
and I'm sitting here listening to this tape, I mean, it pretty much one. Going back to it, and if y'all haven't caught the first segment of our actual analysis today, you should go back and check it out and also share it, comment on it. But to me, it's just kind of like it directly aligns with what the prosecutors were trying to get out of Kelsey from the beginning, which was you said, right? You said that Meg was shot. And then she said, I didn't say Meg was shot. I said that somebody contacted me. Now, this is a testimony, right? And I'm kind of paraphrasing because I don't have it right in front of me. But she said that someone from the team contacted me and said Meg had stepped on glass. So now we have her in the video, in the 80-minute video with about 15 minutes or less now, maybe even 10 minutes or less now, saying that, end quote, Meg was shot by Tory Lanez.
Right.
That is exactly what was said in that 80-minute. And I don't know how you get around
So
that. Like I
so
think
so
that
hold on. I want to address King
you're in the
Life.
courtroom.
he said that's cap. So I've been like, bro, we talking about somebody's life here. Like, let's motherfucker. What are we talking about? We talking about somebody got shot at by somebody else, and we now have an eyewitness who made a statement that states Tory shot Meg. All right, so that's on video, and
I don't know.
the jury is witnessing that right now. Tory shot Meg is what Kelsey said in September. It's
And Tory,
what she told him behind closed doors when no one was watching. Tory shot Meg is what was said. She said that she was physically assaulted after Tory pulled her by her hair and
out
dragged
the
her.
car.
So he pulled her and dragged her. She has testified since then that Tory also threatened her with the gun that night. So what we talking about? We talking about the shit that people don't want to believe for some reason. Uh, like
That's the weird thing. That's the weird thing. I don't understand. That's the weird thing, bro. I don't get it. Like I don't know how many facts you got to line up. I don't know
yeah,
how many people need to say a thing to be like it's the thing. Like
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if maybe y'all need to be there.
yeah.
Maybe we roll back the time, right? And maybe you can then step in the way and take a bullet. I don't even know
Hold,
because at this
hold,
point though, there is no other way. I don't even understand.
hold on.
I don't.
This question,
Yes.
like, did
Yeah.
did
Did both
both
Tory and
Tory
Kelsey
and
have
Kelsey
handgun
have
rest?
handgun residue?
Yes.
So this is the
Uh,
thing. Go ahead, Rillo. You break it down
I,
for us.
yeah, because basically on that piece there, and then CJ also explained it to some degree. But with the Kelsey thing, right? So we first of all, CJ already explained this. When you discharge a gun, right? Residue. There's a cloud of residue that happens when you discharge a gun, right? Generally speaking, right? So anybody within a certain vicinity of that residue, and this is particles now, so you're not going to see the residue, right? This is forensic science that comes into play. And with that forensic science, though, the person that discharged the gun obviously have the most residue on them because they are literally in contact with the gun. So when people ask, well, then how did Kelsey get it on her? Well, then if I'm Tory and I'm pulling on you, right, or touching you, then now I'm transferring the residue from me to you. So
Yeah.
even if you weren't even around the residue in the vicinity, by me touching you, now you what will have the residue on you, right? So that is the way in which like now Kelsey has the
Or
residue on it, which is why really they were trying to say that Kelsey could have been the shooter because he's like, well, if you
right.
got residue on you, then that means that you probably shot her as well. And it's like,
And
yeah, but
that shit is just like it's ridiculous because we know for certain that there's one person who possessed a gun on that night. And that's what we know is that uh the 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 rounds that were expended, the gun was found next to Tory in the vehicle. Uh these are the things that have been testified to. So it's we're not saying it because we we're biased. We're saying it because it's absurd that anybody would believe any fucking thing else at this point. Like, so that it's not because we want one thing to be true versus the other. It's because it's becoming very clear to anyone who has the ability to reason beyond their feelings that this motherfucker did what the fuck, like, bro. I'm a defense attorney, bro. I've been a criminal defense attorney for 15 years, and so like,
I
it's
just, bro, I don't understand, man. I just don't understand how folks are thinking about this, man. Like, as if like I just don't know. I mean, because I mean, my thing is like I try to always say, and you can't do this in the courtroom and try to put the juror in the shoes of the actual like the victim, whatever,
right,
because that would be inflammatory. But since we're not in the damn courtroom and you're not a juror, I'm just saying that if somebody shot a gun or somebody, whoever it is, right? And then you were in the vicinity, and let's say they weren't shooting at you, and you got shot, and you had bullet fragments in your foot and your leg and your arm and whatever it is, right? Are
right,
you telling me that that's not you getting shot? I'm just trying to figure out, or
yeah,
for example, back in the day when people shot bullets in the air, right
yeah,
during New Year's, and there's whole falling bullets campaign.
yeah,
So if a falling bullet hit you, or hit someone you love, or hit someone, right? Are you now telling me that that's not getting shot?
yeah.
I
I mean, like,
again
I'm,
today
I guess
people are
so. I'm addressing King Life. King Life, not only you biased, like, so I need you to understand that he feels like my perspective is biased, and what I'll say to you is I've been doing this for so long that perhaps there is some subjectivity to how I feel. The subjectivity that I feel is about a black woman being dismissed when she says I was harmed. And essentially, King Life, what you saying is either you believe that Kelsey shot Megan or Tory shot Megan, but you have to acknowledge that Megan was shot. And so that's the first thing that you got to do is acknowledge 5 bullets were shot at Megan, 2 entered her feet, right? So if that's so, King Life, if you heard everything that was reported so far, what was the last thing that you heard? What was on the tape that Kelsey just stated? Write it down for me so I can see what you heard. What did you hear, King Life? And like, for me, like, this is the he said I don't
it's
have
weird, bro.
he said I don't have to acknowledge. I don't know. Like, it's like, this is fandom, bro. Like, this is motherfuckers don't have the ability to separate.
Wait, can you put it on the screen, bro?
Oh
He
yeah,
said?
I could put, hold on.
I just want to see what.
He says she got shot, but there's no proof who did it. I do acknowledge that. So he
There's
acknowledges
no
that she got,
proof.
what I mean, what do you
No, no,
think
no, 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 no.
testimony is?
So about to say,
Like,
I'm about to say the eyewitness. There were three
yeah,
people in the car. Three.
yeah,
There was Tory Lanez, who it in fact his gun. That's his gun registered to him.
yeah,
Two, Kelsey. Three, Megan.
right.
Kelsey, in her statement to police. As a matter of fact, it wasn't a statement. She texted the security for Megan and
Yes.
said, "Help! Meg's been shot."
Tory shot Meg.
Tory shot Meg. I'm sorry, Tory shot Meg. So again, if the Kelsey says, text security, hey, help, Tory shot Meg, I'm trying to figure out exactly like what we talking about here.
Okay.
Like, what's the argument?
After that, there's a phone,
Like, what's
like,
the argument?
within 3 minutes of help Tory shot Meg on the text messages, 2 phone calls come in to police from 2 separate neighbors in the neighborhood saying, I just heard multiple gunshots. Right. So this corroborates the text messages that Kelsey made. Kelsey subsequently in September says Megan was shot by Tory. Megan also says I was shot by Tory. You have 2 people now saying that
The
Megan was
victim
shot.
and the eyewitness.
You got a victim
Victim,
and an eyewitness,
eyewitness.
and niggas is saying, "Where's the proof?" I'm like, I like literally, what kind of proof do you need at this motherfucking point?
And bro, the thing is though, is that in the underlying story here is I'm been trying to like sift through this story, is that like the reason why this beef between like Kelsey and Megan is even gone more than what it is now is that because Kelsey is now dating or engaged to uh the to this record label, like I think CEO or somebody running the record label who's now suing Megan. And so she's basically like, okay, well, I got to pick a side. She's now chosen a side in a way. And so she's trying to figure out, like, how can I, like, save myself, protect Tory, because now Tory is under, not under the label, but kind of in cahoots. So like you got Kelsey, Tory, and the brother that's running the label, all kind of like, you know what I'm saying, like huddled together, looking at Megan and trying to pin everything against Megan. So they're trying to hypersexualize her, right? De-victimize her. They try to make sure that they can do everything they can to make sure that this woman and justice is not served. And like honestly, I don't know. Again, I don't really care how people feel for real, for real.
So
I just know
I
that one thing, Tory gonna be found guilty. I mean,
yeah.
I that's just
So
point blank period.
I mean, if people are reasonable, and I would like to believe that people are still reasonable in spite of some of the things that we see. Like we live in a world where folks believe a lot of things that are to me absurd. Uh, I saw where Ivan just asked about. So the thing is that the prosecution is going to continue to focus on Tory because this trial is about Tory. So they're not going to lean into the fact that Kelsey perjured herself. They may pursue perjury charges at a later time if they choose to do so, but they're not
Mm-hmm.
focusing on that today. So they're not going to make their argument today and distract from the person that they're there for today, which is
Right, right,
Tory
right.
Lanez. So they're not even gonna get like at this point, the jury hearing that video coming in as evidence now is a game changer because whether the jury believes uh what what uh what Kelsey said on the stand, the reason why it was important to highlight it is Kelsey said in her statement to the police or to the DA in September that she felt like Meg threw her under the bus or left her out to dry. Right? So you got a person who has been feeling this way for all this time. So if I'm the prosecution, I'm saying in September, hey jury, you heard her say yourself this that she felt like she had been left out to dry. So what better way to get back at her than when you get on stand today, all of a sudden, all the shit you said in September, you no longer remember that shit anymore. What better way if
And now you
somebody is
leave, and
bribing you?
now yeah, yep, yep. I'm
Right.
about
What
to say,
better
and now
way
you
if
leave Megan
somebody
out to
is
dry.
bribing you for $1 million? You like I'm gonna get you back now. What better way to get the big payback if you felt that way than to do that? And so there you go. That's just exactly as Ivan said. She has a reason to lie. Exactly. Her reason to lie
And
is she felt like she got left out to dry. She felt like she got left holding the bag, and so now it's like, oh, now I'm finna get my lick back, and so that's a very childish approach, I think, to somebody being shot. But the reality is that this is what appears to be happening here. And I think the jury is going to lean into the person that they heard talking in September
yeah,
because
and yep,
go ahead,
yep.
bro. Go ahead.
Nah, because really, because this, I think that we kind of missed a little part of the question was like, what would they use in deliberation room? They're gonna use it.
Okay.
Oh, anything in evidence
Yeah.
is used. Like the jury can use whatever is submitted or admitted into evidence, right? And so, what they're gonna be looking at in the deliberation room whenever that time comes, and when after closing arguments is they're gonna look at the video, right? They're gonna probably spend some time with that again. They're gonna realize that there are certain things that are corroborated with past statements by to the police from Kelsey, past statements to the DA by Kelsey, and how that does not actually like jive with what she said on the stand. And really though, it goes to what was just said by CJ, which is she had a reason to lie today. So if they can kind of like put two and two together, and then so in the deliberation room, I think that what you're gonna find is that they're gonna be like, she lied on the stand. She really saw what happened. She saw Megan get shot. It wasn't about no damn glass. The text messages to the security, the calls to 911, the camera that was that caught the whole thing from another like outside, like a store that was nearby, another house that was nearby. So you got like, I think an overwhelming amount of evidence that leans into the to a jury coming back with a verdict of being guilty for Tory Lanez for aggravated assault. Now I don't know about the time aspect of it, but bro gonna go to jail. Is what I'm saying, and he deserves to go to
Yeah,
jail. And anybody
yeah.
defending him, man, y'all got.
So so
Anybody
let me
defending Tory,
let's go to
man.
Megan. Let's go to Megan Kunif's timeline. We've been talking about this report. I'm gonna pull up her
Oh,
timeline
she
and her
got more.
perspective. Yeah, like she's sharing her perspective on here. I'm gonna share her breakdown of how she feels about it. Again, she's a reporter for I think Law Crime News. So she's a legal reporter. So she said she felt like that the opening of the door with this particular when the lawyer attempted to cross-examine Kelsey on the September tapes, instead of focusing on Kelsey's inconsistencies and focusing on her credibility, he opened the door to them bringing in the whole 80-minute tape. She felt like this was a colossal mistake by the defense attorney. Well, she was talking about another trial, but she feels like this is the same type of situation. One of the statements she makes is she says, I say the recording in this case is even worse with Kelsey. There was really no way this was going to ever be played for the jury in full if Tory's lawyer hadn't hounded her in cross about changing her story to fit the prosecutor's case. So essentially, he hold himself. Tory lawyer did the damage. Uh, what you essentially need to understand is Tory's defense attorney was overzealous in uh in his representation in this instance, in that by focusing on and attempting to diffuse the little bit of the 80-minute video that the jury did get to hear, that the prosecution did get to play at the time, he opened the door to the prosecution being able to get the whole 80-minute video in. And in doing that, they now have a version of Kelsey who is not contentious, who is not being resistant to the prosecution's questions, who's answering straight up what went down that night in details that she did not provide them on the stand initially. And in doing so, like it's game time at that point. Like it's I've been doing this a long time, and you know, in the trials I've been in, particularly murder trials, things of that nature, I won all of them except the first one I ever did. Won all of them. And so I'm I'm kind of I won't say that I can you can't ever guarantee what 12 people are going to think. But if you've seen the way these things play out long enough, then you begin to understand like what's going well for what side and what's not going well. Now Tory still gets the opportunity, if he chooses to testify and present his case in chief. If the prosecution hasn't rested yet, so he still gets the opportunity to make his statement and speak his side if he so chooses. He has the constitutional
Yeah,
right to not take the stand as well. But in a case like this, I would imagine that you're gonna take the stand in order to try to tell your version of events. And if their
you think he'll
tactic
take the
is
stand? You think he'll take the
well,
stand?
I mean, his silence. I I'll say this at this point,
I get.
their approach. I'll say that the who done it approach is always a bad approach to defense in my professional opinion. Who done it? Who done it is not ever really good. Uh, like it's okay, but to me, it's not a strong defense. And what they
Nah.
are attempting to do is like they're trying to, hide the ball over here and have you looking over here while they're doing it. And that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't normally play out well in these types of cases, especially when you got actual physical evidence that would
Mm-hmm.
you know, you know, I haven't said he would not take the stand if he was Tory. Um, and
I mean,
this
honestly
is what
though, I don't know.
King Life says. If Tory goes to jail, you would get a person. If he walks away, I'm expecting an apology because you guys are clearly on some biased bullshit. This is why I need you to understand, King Life. Just because somebody don't get convicted of something, don't mean they didn't do the shit.
Say,
like that's
I'm
what
about to say, cause
like
like, I mean, OJ, I mean,
like
case ring a bell. I mean, I don't
yeah,
know,
like
dog. Like, I mean, come
just
on,
because
man. A lot
someone
of people,
isn't convicted of something doesn't mean that they didn't do it. And so I
no,
think that's the thing that
all that means
being
is that they could not convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt,
right,
right? So that's
right.
why it's like
So
that. They're not saying you're not. They're not saying you innocent. You just not
right.
guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's
And,
important to note, man.
and I think that's
So
the thing that people it's like, yo, we fucking lawyers, dog. We paid money to go to school to do this shit. Like, dude, like play with your motherfucking mama, dog. Don't play with me. Like, I'm just being real right now, dog. Like, this is what we fucking do for a
hey,
living.
but
And so
I will say though, I will say, you know, while I'm not really waiting for your apology. I think the crazy part about this is that, like, you know, Megan was shot. There was nobody else around,
I'm not laughing about
and
that.
we
I'm
still.
just laughing.
It's just crazy. I mean, honestly, it's wild. It's just wild to me that like the first thought is like, if Tory Lanez is found guilty, you got to come
I
apologize. Like the
look,
apology is not really,
I'll say this. There
honestly.
are a lot of people in jail who have been wrongfully convicted. I will say that, King Life. There's a lot of people in jail who have been wrongfully convicted. Most of
Yep.
those
But
people are, are not are not people who have uh, two eyewitnesses, a gun with their residue, with the residue on them, uh, with multiple people saying that they did it, uh, and seeing that they did it, and
man, bro,
the
Kelsey was in
evidence
the
pointing
car,
towards they
bro.
actually did it.
Bro, Kelsey was
Like
in the car. She said it
so,
numerous times that Tory shot
because
Meg. End of
what I would
story.
ask, he said getting emotional. I'm not getting emotional at all. King, like what I would ask you is, it seemed like you emotional. It seemed like you actually invested in Tory being in. It's like you want him to be innocent so bad that you will disregard all of the evidence that's being put forth to you that he did this shit. Like, why is it that none of the shit that has
Mm.
like, hey, look, I
Hey,
I ask you
bro.
this: if somebody told you if you had $1,000 and the $1,000 went missing, and somebody told you, I saw this motherfucker take your $1,000. Are you going to and after they tell you I saw this motherfucker take the $1,000, you actually approach them and you say, man, hey, did you take my $1,000? And you actually find the $1,000 on him. Would you then believe that this motherfucker didn't actually take your $1,000, or
No, no, no,
would
no, no. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it even more factually aligned. Are you gonna
yeah?
believe that by some way, some stretch of imagination, that somebody magically came in and slipped $1,000 into that person's pocket, or on their person, and then now you go, that's how it happened?
Hey,
Or do you
look,
believe that that motherfucker
are
stole
you
it?
go,
Like, I'm just saying.
well, are you gonna believe that the motherfucker that told you I saw this motherfucker steal $1,000 from you actually is the one that the motherfucker that said that this nigga stole $1,000 from me is actually the one that stole it from me. And so I'm fixing to go focus on the motherfucker that told me they saw the person, then instead of the person that I actually found $1,000 on. Like, I guess that's the level of irrational belief that it would require um in order for somebody to believe what it is that you are, to think the way that you're thinking. And so my hope is
Hey
that
CJ,
they got
hey CJ,
uh-huh.
hey man, you gotta chill out. You getting emotional.
Oh, nigga, bro, that shit
Hey,
is
bro, you
hilarious
gotta
to
chill
me.
out,
Like it's
bro. You
like,
gotta
bro,
chill out. Though. You
like,
getting
dude, like, okay, that's the shit that's kind of weird to me though, man. Like it's like he's not King Life is not the only one. Like
oh
it's a
no, oh
lot.
no, indeed.
It's a lot of King Lives out there, and that's kind of scary. I mean, like it's scary from the standpoint that there's no way to reason with King Life, like whatsoever. There's no way to reason with him. Like literally, you could put that shit in front of you could put all that shit in front of him, and he's still talking about. But what if? Like you could put an eyewitness in front of him. You could put the smoking gun in front of him. Two eyewitnesses, one being the
And
victim, the
it
other
ain't gonna be
the other
enough.
being like you could put a videotape of the eyewitness saying what the fuck they saw. You could put the doctor saying I pulled bullet fragments out of her feet. You could put uh her saying she was shot. You could put audio of the police saying, I mean of the police call saying um gun shots fired. You can see video of Meg bleeding out of her motherfucking feet with Kelsey getting out of the car and Tory Lanez laying on the ground, and that still not be enough for you to say that motherfucker might have did that shit. Like, like, like what the fuck do you need at this point? Like, this motherfucker
Hey,
needed to be there. Like, he needed to be there.
hey,
You know what
bro.
I'm saying?
I mean, I don't know what's the point of an eyewitness, man. I don't even know.
Oh
I
shit.
don't know. You know what I mean? But I think that you know, I don't know if we believe again. We're not looking for a public apology. But
Oh
I will
shit.
say that what I hope is that the next time you see something like this, and if it looked like a duck, and it sounded like a duck, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, and it walked like a duck, then
You
that
know,
motherfucker
you know what
duck.
this shit
And
you know
so,
what this shit remind me of, bro? It remind me of the motherfucking R. Kelly shit, bro. You remember the Boondocks and the R. Kelly shit, or when
oh,
Dave
bro,
Chappelle was like, nigga,
bro.
I need a motherfucker with an ID in the video. Like this is like, bro, this is R. Kelly level absurdity. Like, bro, R. Kelly in jail with a motherfucking album called I Did That Shit. And niggas is like, but did he do that
Boy,
shit?
what
like this
like,
this motherfucker stepping in the name of love, playing with y'all motherfucking asses.
hey man, I ain't
Bro,
gonna lie though, bro. That might have been the wildest three-part series of songs.
bro, like,
Sidebar on that R. Kelly shit, man. Like,
oh
yo, I
my
listened to
God.
like I probably listened like half of the first I Admitted I Did It. And
Yeah.
cause the song was like almost maybe 4 minutes long.
Uh-huh.
And I got to like maybe like 2 minutes. And I was like, nah, I'm done listening to this. It's just
Yeah.
like the most delusional person to ever probably walk this damn earth is R. Kelly.
Yeah,
Like
man.
he literally blamed it. The way in which he did it is like basically, I admit that I I allow people in my life, but like or whatever, or I admit that y'all been trash to me, but like never really admitting exactly what he did. Like there was
Yeah.
no really admitting of anything. It was there was no admission. It was everything was about like deflection, deflection, deflection. Dog, that was like the craziest. That
Oh.
might have been that might have been the most like I don't want to say sociopathic,
Uh,
but I mean I think I want to say um, self-absorbed
yeah.
three-part series. I mean, I've never
He a
even quite heard anything
narcissist. A
like. I mean,
narcissist, right?
I mean, like that's top of the list narcissist, man. That might have Trump. I'd be god
Bro,
damn, man.
I guess that, bro. And I think I think, bro, I will say this. If I'm emotional, King Life, it is not with this trial. It's much more with having to try to rationalize with people who refuse to believe a black woman when she says she's harmed. People who
Facts,
refuse to
bro.
believe a black woman when she says, I have been harmed and this is the person who harmed me, and that not be enough to at least start to look at the evidence to say, you know what, I'm gonna really look at this shit and
Wow, bro. Just
try
wild,
to
man.
yeah, like I'm going to try to actually hear it rather than to counter it. Like, like, but what if, like, no, just listen, bro. Like, Tory Lanez shot me, and somebody saw Tory Lanez shoot me. I saw Tory Lanez shoot me. This girl saw Tory Lanez shoot me. Both of us are saying Tory Lanez shot me. There are bullets in my feet, so I actually got shot.
The surgeon
Uh,
said it. The
the
surgeon said it. The
surgeon,
surgeon said,
the
"Hey,
surgeon
look,
said I
hey,
pulled bullets out her feet. There's
in the
text
wee hours of the
messages
morning."
saying, right, there's text messages right after I got shot in my motherfucking feet saying Tory shot her in her feet. 911. Like, you start
Yeah,
looking at all
bro.
those things, bro. It's like, what the fuck does this woman need to do for you
I
to be
mean, honestly,
convinced that
I
that
mean,
that
you know what I'm thinking, that even if even if Megan would have died by way of
yes,
gunshot wound, right?
mhm,
I think that there's still people trying to say that we don't have proof
right,
that Tory Lanez did the shooting. Because I mean, that's really what this boils down to. Is
yeah,
that no matter what happened, there gonna be people out there going, "Yo,
right,
ain't no way, right?
and
There's
and,
no way
and
that
like
happened." Like, it's just crazy. It's weird.
I guess with the with regard to that, like, I guess you have to ask yourself, like, okay, if you believe that Tory didn't do it, then essentially what you're saying is I believe that Kelsey did it. Then in that case, you should be still upset with one or the other, not uh just like the shit didn't happen since somebody, like, cause somebody did shoot Megan, right? Like
That's for sure.
somebody. So even if you don't believe that Tory did it, you can still be upset by the fact that Megan got shot by
Yep.
somebody, and that's fucked up. And like, I think that's where the disconnect exists for people. Is like, oh, I want to be right about this to the extent that I'm dismissing the fact that this girl got shot. Whether, and they may be dismissing it because she was shot in her feet. She got shot. And I would imagine that I done had a gun put out in my face before. I'll never forget that motherfucking day. You know what I'm saying? They didn't pull the trigger, but I remember it like it was motherfucking yesterday.
Oh
Because
yeah, you don't
initially
forget nothing like that.
I thought they was
You don't
playing
forget.
with me. Because I didn't
You don't
believe
forget nothing
that
like that,
somebody
bro.
would actually do that shit to me. I like thought it was a joke until I realized it wasn't. And so, uh, like, for people to kind of dismiss that and kind of like put what happened to Meg on the back burner, that shit is a weird type of energy, uh, to me, because it's prioritizing, you know, whether, like,
Well,
Tory is
it's
guilty or not guilty. And again, if it is your belief that he didn't do it, it would have to be your belief then that Kelsey did do it, because somebody that was in proximity to her at that time did it, and there were only two people in proximity to her. So
that's what I'm
one of
saying.
them did it.
That's what I'm saying. It's just
So
like at the end of the day, she was shot. One of them shot, and we already know
yeah,
that Kelsey didn't shoot him. Want to know why? Because Tory Lanez went underneath the goddamn post, and after some random person said Kelsey shot Megan, he said
yeah,
in response to that, that's not true. Also, once
yeah,
again, like I like honestly, we could talk about this till we blue in the face. Oh, you won't be surprised? I mean, honestly though, I would be surprised at this point. To be honest, I would be. I think that unless the defense can do something to show that there was another shooter
yeah,
and that in fact Tory wasn't the shooter, I'm not quite sure. There's no more over sexualizing or hypersexualizing or dehumanizing or de victimizing like Megan that's going to point the jury in another
I
direction or away
Ivan,
from Tory that he's not the gun. I just don't. I
I'm
don't know,
gonna
man.
fuck
He's a
you up.
shooter.
I'm gonna fuck you up, Ivan. Maybe if Tory was a police officer.
Yeah, maybe.
If Tory was a police officer, maybe. Uh, because that's you know how that shit go. So
Boy, look.
uh so maybe if you know, maybe if that was the case, but he ain't, you know what I'm saying? Uh and so in that regard, that's something to think about. Like, you know, I don't know what's gonna happen in the case. I know that the evidence is certainly it leans towards this is the thing. A good criminal defense attorney is going to try to craft a defense for their client, generally speaking. And so you're going to try to come up with the best strategy uh, to do that. In this particular case, I guess they felt like the best strategy would be to create confusion. And the way that they felt they could create confusion is by to one, make Kelsey seem like a not credible witness, and two, by pointing in Kelsey's direction as the shooter. Uh,
I think that would have worked. That would have worked up until the today. I mean, that had more teeth than before today. And then when the 80 minute
yeah,
video statement video came out, right? I think that
right,
that was more plausible.
right,
But now here we are, 80 minutes into a tape. The jury has now heard it all, and the
right.
key components of that tape is, in fact, that Tory was a shooter. He shot Meg. And then another thing is too is like Ivan, you pointed out, she had every reason to lie. Kelsey, I'm talking about every reason to lie because she felt wrong by Meg. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
she was willing to
That's why
go out
she
on
changed her
to
shit.
purge herself because she wanted exactly because she wanted to make sure that because she was slighted and just like you said, look, I'm gonna get my lick back. And her getting her lick back is trying
Yeah,
to show away or try to muddy the waters away from what is truly like, pointing every direction to me, which is Tory Lanez being a shooter. I mean, I don't know
right.
how you get any other conclusion, but I got, look, to your point, I even know, man, wild things have happened with a jury. I mean, wild things. So the
Yeah.
defense may come with some. If the glove don't fit, you must have a quit type shit. I don't know. We don't know what the defense is gonna do because they still
I
got to
would,
put
I
their
would,
case
I
in
would,
chief on.
I was,
But at the end of the
I
day,
would say this, man. Yeah, like, yeah, I'm looking at this case, and you know, my belief is that in Los Angeles, you're gonna get a pretty intelligent jury. Uh, People who aren't easily tricked. They're gonna probably be educated. They'll be, um, they're gonna be smart people. So you get a good cross section of a jury and one that's going to be able to navigate these issues. Now, what they do with how they navigate it, I don't know, because there may be people who feel, you know, like King Life feels on the jury. Uh, there may be others on there, but that maybe feel the opposite of that. But um, what I believe is that at this point, based on the defense attorney's approach and based on the evidence that's been presented as of right now today, uh, the case is leaning towards more than likely a guilty verdict on some of the three charges. Uh, and so we'll see what happens next. But this has been our Rillo. You want to say anything
and
before we wrap up?
I would say this. I would say too, is that like jury instructions are critical. I mean, that's and so sometimes jury instructions have the potential to kind of sway a case one way or another. But like I said, even with that being said, like notwithstanding the fact that jury instructions can do that, I'm still with CJ on this. I think that it's leaning to a guilty verdict. Again, not sure how many counts, or who will be found guilty, but I think Tory's gonna do some time for shooting Meg, and so um,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
we'll see, we'll see.
I uh I appreciate y'all's tapping in with us for now, man, we appreciate it. This is Black People Be Knowing. Um, we're doing legal breakdowns and trying to give you some insight from a different perspective. And this is Black with No Chaser. Until the next time we talk, think
Yeah,
black,
man.
live black
Think black, live black,
unapologetically.
unapologetically, man. Y'all be good. Y'all be safe out there.
Peace.